And welcome to the Casual Nerdcast. I'm your host, Justin. Joining us for tonight, Andrew.
Hello.
Making his return, Amel.
Now with 100% more green for a limited time. Seriously, this color's damn bright.
And Evan.
I'm out of funny. This is round 3.
For those of you who are not aware,
Yo,
this is our third take for this evening. All right, so let's just jump right into our first topic. Oh, you were lagging there. Anyways, jumping on to our first topic is the new Nintendo 3DS. So Nintendo recently unveiled the new 3DS handheld. Evan, you're probably more well versed in this, so do you mind taking lead on this one?
I, the master of 3DS, shall explain it to you.
Entertain us.
A question for you, Evan.
Are you not entertained? Sorry, what?
Question for you. As the layman, so, we've got a new 3DS. So it's new. And why should I buy it? Why should I care? Go.
Because it's literally, it's the best packaged 3DS that we have to date. Previously, with the past two 3DSs, so the 3DS normal and then the XL, one of the biggest issues is that it didn't come with a second analog stick. So games like Kid Icarus or Resident Evil Revelations and stuff were kind of a bitch to play. They weren't impossible, but they were definitely bitches. Like it sucked. It was not fun to play. So it was fun, but just the controls were lame. Anyways, so this new 3DS, the biggest thing that it's adding is it's adding a second analog stick in the form of a nubbin. So there is a huge tagline there, well, like a huge, asterisk. It's a nubbin, so that might not be the greatest thing ever, but it's better than nothing. I personally, I have a original 3DS. I probably will be replacing it with one of these. I'll probably get because there's two new 3DSs coming out. There's a replacement for the XL and a replacement for the normal one. It's the LL, like the new 3DS LL and the new 3DS.
Oh, so the new 3DS XL is the 3DS LL.
Yes.
What?
So I guess it goes from like extra large to ludicrously large.
Way to confuse everyone, Nintendo.
Yeah, that's the one thing. Like, it's gotta suck being a grandma right now. Because before it was like, oh, Christmas is here, I'll just buy Jimmy a stick. But now it's like, and Evan, you must be so happy that you're not in the EV games like profession anymore. Because imagine that grandma coming in. I heard there's a new Nintendo game thing. And he's like, oh, fuck, I don't know. I'd like open up a chart and be like, all right, man, is it this thing? Is it this one? What are the clues he gave you?
It was even bad with the normal DS because there was like the DS Lite and it's like, so this one has internet access.
Oh god.
Your kid can watch porn on this.
Oh
and
my
then
god.
This one doesn't. But and then even just I have so many rants about working at EB. How many grandparents will come in? So I want to get a game for my grandson. Well, what kind of games does he like? He likes games with shooting. Thanks. That narrows it down a lot. Like, it's like, which console does he have? I don't know. Which one do you trip over more? And I just hold up the controllers. It's like, oh, that one. Okay, he owns an Xbox. Anyways.
Are you ever like, quick aside, are you ever like, because when we were kids, we played a lot of bad games. Wherever sometimes you're just like, fuck this kid, and you give them a terrible game.
No,
like Legendary for the PlayStation 3.
Oh god.
I tried there was a lot of people that were really committed to buying bad games. I tried my best to always point them towards something that was, a little bit better or something like that. But there'd be people just like, some people would come in and just be like, man, this game's phenomenal. Like, it's one of the greatest games ever made. And they'd pull out like something like Legendary. And it's just like, what? This is a game that came out and I forgot about it a month later. Like, what do you just... Anyways, so
speaking of things you forget about,
back to the 3DS.
Yeah.
The nubbin controller is probably the biggest thing that I'm really excited with this.
Describe how this nubbin works. I'm not too sure. When you say nubbin, I'm not exactly sure what you're talking about.
I'm imagining like Lenovo laptop's little clit in the middle.
So old Lenovo IBM laptops that have the little nubbin in the middle are probably what it's going to function more like and feel more like is the old PSP analog stick.
Yeah, that's what I keep hearing the comparison. It's like the disc that slides. It's not like a stick that actually rotates. It's like a disc that slides.
Yeah, think the PSP, second gen.
Yeah.
It's that little tiny thing that's above the 4 buttons.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, so that's it. It's just that little gray thing. But anyways, other than that, the other big thing that I can do is Nintendo's trying to push this whole amiibo thing since Skylanders was apparently really good. So amiibo, the 3DS now inherently supports amiibo. They're going to come up with a peripheral for the old 3DSs so that you can use your amiibos with them. But this one will inherently support it, so you can. I don't know exactly what amiibos do because I don't really give a shit.
Nobody really does. I've looked it up. Google doesn't even really know.
It's basically, I think they can like save games and characters from certain, like if you have an Animal Crossing, I guess you can save your character onto your. I think that's what it's kind of for, but I don't really know. If anybody can correct us in the comments, that'd be fantastic, because then I know more useless stuff about video games. But so really the biggest thing with this is the nubbin is awesome. That's literally why I want it, just because I don't want to get. Before, their solution to adding a second analog stick was having this huge chunky piece of shit that actually required separate batteries.
Wow.
You put it on the side of your 3DS, and then your 3DS has basically has a tumor.
It became a Frankenstein monster.
But
yeah.
But what's a handheld console from Nintendo without all the accessories that make it draconian and Frankenstein-y?
And that's what this is solving, right? And then it's also doing little things like now games load from the bottom. There's probably a lot of other little things that they're changing.
So, is it fully backward compatible?
Yeah.
It's like a 3DS.
There's actually also going to be things that are only available on this version that are on old versions. Yeah. And then there was one. Shit. What was
I'm literally just looking at what the 3DS looks like now, and just comparing it.
2 more shoulder buttons, I believe.
Yeah. And also, the smaller version has exchangeable backplates. Fabulous. Sorry, so that was really bad. Anyways, awesome.
Makes sense.
Man, you just remind me how Samsung released a Swarovski phone.
Yeah. So what do you guys what do you guys think about this? For current 3DS owners, are you interested in getting one of these? And for non-3DS owners, does this make you want to get one?
No, I think this is perfect for me, because I'm like you. I have the the smaller original 3DS. So yeah, people are always talking about I should upgrade to the XL, but I think this is the perfect timing. So I might upgrade to that LL one.
Especially because the old 3DS had so it's a fan. I really do like the 3DS. I use it a lot more than my PSP personally. But that's just kind of a preference of games, whatever. But one problem with the 3DS that absolutely drives me insane is that if you try and play one for more than an hour, it just starts cutting into your hands. It is the worst ergonomic piece of shit.
Oh, okay.
It's not comfortable to hold. The buttons are all kind of awkwardly placed. The analog stick is kind of a little bit out of the way, so you kind of have to crane your thumb and stuff.
I can see where that's coming from.
And the 3DS XL really fixed that. They made the entire thing was really smooth, and when I held one, I was like, I really want this now, but I have the special Legend of Zelda 3DS, so I couldn't bring myself to get rid of it.
Yeah, I was gonna say I have the XL, and it's fantastic.
Yeah, the XL fixed all of the ergonomic problems, and also just made a bigger screen, and it's really better in pretty much every way. The only problem is that if you want to, it arguably is less portable than the smaller version.
I have big hands. The 3DS.
Well, it's not even, it's more so just if you have a small backpack and you're traveling somewhere, it is easier to fit a smaller 3DS than a bigger 3DS.
Yeah, it's true.
Right.
Yeah. It's just flat out. So, but the size difference isn't enough to make me not consider that.
Question: has there been any announcement or news regarding this with a bundle of Super Smash Bros? Because it sounds like this might be their next move.
They've this is only going to be in Japan for 2014. There's actually no announced date. There's no announcement for 2015 yet. But it's gonna come. I'd be very, very surprised if we never see this, because everybody wants it.
So, Amel, do you have a 3DS at all?
I don't know if you guys can hear me. I'm lagging a little bit.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
you're
we
good
can
now.
hear you.
Okay. No, I don't currently own a 3DS. This might actually convince me to get one since I haven't played a handheld since the Game Boy Advance. It's just kind of fell out. I have never had a PSP or anything, but this looks interesting.
The other really cool thing about the 3DS as well is that it's fully backwards compatible. So
Yeah.
if you buy one, you're not only getting access to the 3DS games, you're getting access to all the
Right.
DS games that you missed.
Right,
And
which
the
is kinda
the DS was a fantastic system. Like
Right.
that system, I could recommend you probably 20, 30 games.
Yep.
Very easily, right?
Yep.
So
It's something I might dabble in, but like if I do, this is definitely up my alley. It's just I've never really given it some serious thought, but this sounds fantastic.
So one last question I have about this whole release thing. Do you guys think that this is something that should have been, because ever since the original nubbin and stuff was announced the extra analog stick was announced for the original 3DS, after that package had been out for a while, then the XL came out. Do you think that, I mean, do you think that this should have been done with the XL, and this is kind of just another way for Nintendo to kind of cash in on console sales? I don't necessarily think that myself, but I'm just wondering what you guys do.
I think it should have been like this. I think dual analog is something that is kind of necessary at this point.
Mhm.
Like even the original DS is kind of okay, but I also think that Nintendo's like a Japanese company, and like they're like super, what is it, like their like focus is on like tradition and like seniority. So I think while that has a lot of positives, one of the downsides of that is when new things happen, they're usually pretty slow on the uptake to like transition. Like you see that with Sony as well. You see that with Nintendo a lot. And Nintendo's sort of been okay because they've gone by on like the fuck what everyone else is doing. We'll just do our own crazy thing. And it's worked out for them, but this is one of the times where it didn't really.
I would actually disagree. 3DS is probably the most successful Nintendo piece of hardware I've seen so far.
Right.
I'm pretty.
The Wii.
Does that surpass 3DS?
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
The Wii is like the second best selling console of all time. I don't know if it passes the PS2, but everybody owned a Wii ever. They were sold out for like a year.
That makes sense. But I mean, like this is I feel like this is where the 3DS has started maybe dropping in sales. They need a reason to kind of like bolster it back up, because Nintendo has been going through a bit of a rough half. Like I remember reading an article regarding they're not making exactly the most amount of money. Well, they kind of started losing a bit, even though that they have like really positive 3DS sales. And even after the release of Pokemon X and Y, you'd think those would boost the sales even more.
Well, the nice thing about Nintendo is that because of the Wii, they can survive probably another really shitty console. Like if the Wii U seems to be doing better now. I'm thinking about getting a new console, and the Wii U is probably what I'm going to get over an Xbox One, because the Super Smash Bros. There's a ton of stuff. But Nintendo's one of those lucky companies where they printed money for a couple years, so they can kind of fuck up a couple times before it actually becomes an issue for them.
Yeah. And they have Smash Bros.
They can fuck up more, like they can fuck up way more than Sony can at this point, right?
Yeah.
Like if Sony messes up something with the PS4, they're kind of done, right? And same with Microsoft. But with Nintendo, it's like, oh yeah, the Wii U started out really slow.
Microsoft can make a bit more mistakes than Sony, I would say. Just not just because the Microsoft as a company as a whole is doing better than Sony as a company as a whole.
Right.
Yeah, they could probably ask for money from other divisions, saying, "Hey, give me loan some cash here or there or something." Unless like the CEO is just like, "No, I'm sick and tired of it." Yeah,
it really depends on their structure, right?
Yeah, it really depends on how they operate. But yeah, I mean, I can see where that's coming from. Nintendo's always been one of those, they kind of, like you said, like they just kind of like make money whenever they can. Well, I mean, it depends. There's a rumor circulating that there might be a new console coming for like surpassing the Wii U. Just rumors right now. I'm not sure.
Arguably really surprised because the Wii U is actually picking up in sales now.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's one in like development, as in like research. As I'm sure there's like a new PlayStation and new Xbox already, like people kind of like thinking about it. I don't think that there's one in release for another like 3-4 years though.
Yeah.
Oh, probably longer than that. I mean, I think they want this generation to last long, right?
Yeah. See,
well, even the Wii U, like even though they started like a year early, I don't think a new console from Nintendo's coming out anytime soon.
You know, that's something that's surprising me that Nintendo didn't actually do was having 3DSs as controllers for the Wii U. I've always wondered why that was not really a thing. Just because I feel like 3DS, you know, it has that capability, and it basically can do everything the Wii U controller can do. I haven't found really an argument against it, except that, you know, it's kind of cool too, because like, you know, when 3DS controllers are, or sorry, not 3DS controllers, Wii U controllers are more expensive. Like they're a bit more expensive than regular controllers, just because of the extra screen and stuff. So if, let's say, for instance, all your buddies had like a 3DS or something, like in our case, you know, we can all just go over to one guy's house. We all don't need to buy like, you know, 4 different screen controllers. We can just use our own 3DSs and connect to the Wii U.
Right. No, that would sound cool.
I'm just surprised Nintendo hasn't done that
yet. To me, I think that's more of an issue of cost, right? Of cost and also just sales on Nintendo's part. Because I mean, so if 3DSs could be used as controllers, then that means with every Wii U, you kind of need to bundle it with a 3DS, right? And then that's also getting rid of another 3DS sale that they could possibly have, and it's just
it raises the price a lot too.
And then your console would probably have to be around $500, maybe $600.
That's true.
And you want all of these companies are moving, especially Sony is moving towards the Vita and the PS4 being very, very interconnected. But they're still very obviously different consoles, right? Like my Vita can hook up to my PS4, and my PS4 can sync with my Vita and all that stuff, but I'm still playing different games on either one for the most part, right? Other than the remote play and stuff like that, but that's different.
Actually, interesting that you brought up Sony and the PS Vita, because now let's segue to our next topic. Bam.
Oh, yes.
Sony's smartphone Xperia Z3 and Z3 Compact will be the first smartphones with PS4 remote play.
And that sounds awesome.
I didn't read much into it, so I'm just going to read a bit of it now as I go. It looks, basically are joining the so they can stream PS4 games.
Yeah, the Vita has a feature called Remote Play where your PS4 renders the game and then just sends the frames to your Vita, so you can play your PS4 games on your Vita without having to have a TV with you, right? Which I've used a couple times and is awesome. So what I understand about this Remote Play with the tablets is they're literally just moving that functionality onto tablets, right? So that you can, it's kind of like NVIDIA Shield, right? Like they're literally very much copying that that idea,
streaming,
right? Yeah,
from your home console.
Yep, to a tablet instead of
or to a phone, actually, not a tablet.
Yeah, sorry, phone, yeah.
Yeah, but like, I mean, like, this is basically the NVIDIA Shield Portable. This is exactly what it is.
Well, it's so again, the thing about the NVIDIA Shield Portable the NVIDIA Shield Portable has something very obviously over the NVIDIA Shield tablet. With a tablet, you know, with the portable, you can sit there and hold the controller, and your screen is attached to the controller, and it's a portable gaming system. It is a portable that you can play it wherever you want. A lot of complaints that I've heard about the NVIDIA Shield tablet is that you kind of have to have a surface to put your tablet on, right?
Yeah.
You can't really, because you have to have a controller in your hands, and then your tablet has to be somewhere else. So you really have to, you can't really, you know, play it anywhere, right? But you can play it in a lot of places. But especially like in bed or something like that, you kind of have to. It just doesn't really work in that regard.
Which is where the NVIDIA Shield Portable still shines.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. Which is very similar to if you contrast the Vita and then this phone, right? Like they're very similar ideas.
It's interesting. I remember this that the original roadmap for PlayStation Now was that they wanted all their Sony products to start using PlayStation Now. So I think this is kind of like a good introduction to kind of get people used to streaming. And then I don't know if Sony's planning on using the PlayStation 4 as like a PlayStation Now kind of hub, and then all your devices are going to connect through that, or if it's going to like directly from the PlayStation Now servers directly to your phone. So it's interesting now they're actually slowly introducing what NVIDIA Shield is doing. Do you guys think this is a direct competition?
Not direct, not yet.
It's similar. It's just
very close. Yeah.
To me, this seems like. So a part of me is also kind of slightly annoyed with something like this, because there's no real reason why something like Game Stream or Remote Play, as far as I can think of, there's no real reason why this isn't just a software solution, right? Does this say that they're going to be the first phones to get Remote Play? Or
that is correct. They have a Z3, which is the phone, the compact, which is I think a smaller phone, yep, and a Z3 tablet compact.
Oh, the Z3 tablet, cool.
Okay, so I had no clue. So basically, yeah, there's a tablet, there's a phone. So basically, the entire NVIDIA Shield line is now being attacked.
but is this? Well, it's not really being attacked because it's completely different markets, right? Like,
I guess, yeah.
If you own a PS4, you're going to be playing different games than you are on your PC. For the most part, right? People who are buying an NVIDIA Shield are going to be playing all their games on PS3. People who are going out of their way to buy a PS4, a Vita, and then a Sony phone are probably going to be pretty committed to the Sony brand.
Yeah.
Right? My question about this is, am I ever going to be able to do this on my Nexus 5? Because if that's the case, then that actually interests me.
Yep. If they eventually release it, rather than just it's only available on our platform, in which case,
I feel
really
like
annoying. I think it's kind of bullshit.
And it goes against everything Android really stands for, because it's meant to be shared and open source and stuff.
Well, it's also it just kind of reminds me a lot of what Samsung does, where it's just like, oh yeah, we have a phone, and then like we have this watch, but the watch can only work with our phones, and then it's
compare that to the HTC One. All of the stuff that was part of the skin is now available in the Play Store standalone, which is the direction everyone should be taking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just find it interesting that bringing yourself back to your point whether or not Nexus 5 or whatever other Android phones, or maybe even that's speculating further, Apple phones, if they had any iPhones, maybe tablets or iPads or whatever, like I think it's gotten to the point that Sony realizes how much their hardware division is in trouble. Not PlayStation. I'm not hating on PlayStation or anything. I'm talking about everything else.
Right.
How much they're in trouble is now that they're finding a way to try to bolster their sales. And I feel like if the PlayStation Now roadmap is of any indication that they're trying to use the PlayStation brand to kind of help their other Sony devices, I think it's a good chance that you'll start seeing more Sony devices incorporating with the PS4, or maybe even a more better, I guess more betas released for PlayStation Now functionality. So I feel like, unfortunately, to answer your question, Evan, I think it's going to be a Sony exclusive.
I know, and that just really annoys me, because to me, I think if you're making a product, we're going to give more advice to companies of the world. If you're making a product, don't make me want your product because it holds exclusive features that I can't get anywhere else. Make me want your product because it's a good product.
Or better than what I currently have, yeah.
Yeah, I would get a Sony phone if it was better than my Nexus 5, but in most cases, that is not true. I can't think, in pretty much all cases, I mean, this is a new phone, so it might trump it in some ways, but I still...
By 1440p screen. Ooh.
Hey,
I don't know. Anyways, Andrew, you were gonna say something?
No, I was just gonna reiterate what Justin said. PlayStation's their only real profitable division right now.
Mm-hmm.
So
I don't know. I think that this is kind of a really gimmicky way of getting sales. If this is what they're trying to do, right? There's other ways to do it.
Hey, Microsoft, if you're listening and you wanna enter the mobile market,
this is not how you do it.
This is not how you do it. You do all the phones.
If exclusive content isn't the way that they should be doing. And what, like, the reason I have a PlayStation 4 in the first place is because of games that I can't play anywhere else. And I don't get angry about that. Or, like, I don't get, like, it's not, like, I don't expect to run Windows 8 on, like, an Android phone. Like, if I wanted the Windows OS, I would have to, I would rightfully have to buy a Windows phone.
Yes, but there's a difference in regard to, like, this is literally just a software thing. And I mean, they even had the PlayStation app, which they recently discontinued, I think, which they could easily build this feature into, right? And if everybody, because the problem about this is now if I want to buy a PS4 and I want to do the game streaming service, right? My purchase now just became double. I don't know how much the Xperia is going to cost, but let's assume $600, right? So now my purchase to get my perfect, Sony experience is going to be around $1,000, right? Where if they built it onto every phone, they could get a lot more people interested in getting the PS4 because now it just became an extra feature that I magically have. It's just like, oh, cool, my phone can already do this? Oh, yeah, I'll totally buy a PS4 now.
That way, it's a perk to buy the PS4 and enter the Sony ecosystem, rather than, here, spend $1,000 on us, or don't spend anything at all because it's not worth it.
Yeah, and that's the way I kind of see it. I mean, granted, you could also just buy a Vita, but half the reason why they're building this is that you can game stream on a product that is not meant for this, right? So you don't necessarily it's not like a gaming device that you're doing it on.
But then again, what Justin mentioned, maybe they're not trying to get you to buy more PlayStations, they're trying to get you to buy more Sony phones. In which case that is a smart business decision.
But I don't think this is just going to be something that a lot of people don't really care about, right?
Yeah, I don't care about it at all.
And I mean, and I mean, if there are ways that they could do this though, where because if they get one thing that a lot of companies want to do is they just want to get their foot in the door essentially, right? Because the second somebody has a PS4 in their house, now Sony has the ability to market the shit out of them, right? Like market the shit to anybody who owns a PS4. Sorry, right? So just getting a PS4 in a bunch of houses is kind of the first step into getting. Because then they could, maybe do something with the TVs or something weird, right?
All their games look better on the Sony TVs.
Well, I mean, there's probably.
Feels so would have been 1080p if you bought a Sony TV, son. It's a callback to a.
They get sued even more. Sorry, continue, Evan.
Yeah, sorry,
I don't know. There are other ways that this could be done. I mean, I'm not a marketing crazy guy, but I feel like this is very obviously a buy Sony, please.
Yeah, what this shows me is that Sony as a company as a whole is crying for help, and PlayStation's leading the charge. Like that's how I kind of imagine it, and like this begs the question: when Sony starts mainstreaming all their PlayStation services now to different Sony products, will there be any use to get a PlayStation now? in itself, like if PlayStation now becomes as good as the roadmap predicts it to be, maybe later on they can get emulated PlayStation 4s on it or PlayStation 4 games on it. It's almost now to the point that the console itself is now useless, and they can now just sell their TVs, sell their phones and stuff, and like it's interesting to see how that might go. Like maybe your phone now bundles with a PS4 controller. All your TVs get PS4 controllers as well now.
And jumping back to your comment about installing Windows OS on my phone and stuff like that. I mean, there's also a difference in regard to I have basically the Sony Xperia phone, right? Like for all intents and purposes, I have it. The hardware might be a bit different, but for the most part, I own this phone already. Right. So it's weird how I already bought a PS4, and just because I don't own a specific Sony product, I'm missing out on something that really has no reason other than just arbitrariness.
I just don't think it's arbitrary, because even if it is like buy more Sony toys, obviously that's their company. That's the entire point. Yeah. That's why like you, I don't really care about this, to be honest. I just don't like I think when people need to tone down hostility towards companies when they're trying to just market their own product, I think when companies are being like terrible, like there's so many social justice issues, or even just lying to the consumer, which we talked about a long time ago. Like that's the problem. I just don't have a problem with them trying to force you to buy their products.
I just feel like I feel like they could have sold me more on a Sony phone
Maybe, yeah.
if they made this feature available to everything, because then it would kind of make me like the company more. It's like, oh, this company's willing to give everybody the feature, so maybe I'll take a second look at their phones, or maybe I'll take a second look at other Sony stuff, right? But when they're literally locking me into buying something, that kind of makes me not want to buy it.
Yeah, that's true.
Right?
Yeah. And like it's basically like a path of no return in my opinion. Now that PlayStation brand is now kind of just, it's not its own thing anymore. It just sounds like it's bleeding over to all the other products. Now begs the question, what will happen to the PlayStation? And here's another interesting question too. How will this affect PS Vita sales? Will PS Vita still exist?
PS Vita sales are not going anywhere.
Yeah, they're sitting right at maybe 2.
At this point, I think that they've been comfortable with the idea. Like Vita is a niche, and like people, like there's a huge adoption rate. Like a person, I remember when the Vita came out, like after a year, it was like a person who owns a Vita has bought 12 games, which is really high. But at this point, I don't think they're like, man, we need to sell more Vitas. They're like, whatever, they're there.
We made it. Well, the people who bought it, they're gonna enjoy it, and yeah, the Vita's kind of died. I don't want to really say that because who knows what's gonna happen.
It's not dead. It's just coasting, and that's all it's gonna be.
Yeah, it's just gonna chill.
He's the cousin that is really cool, but is never going to be like president or anything.
and let's be honest, that's also what happened to the PSP, right? Like the PSP very much just kind of coasted its way through.
Although the PSP sold like over 70, 80 million units.
Exactly.
The Vita's never going to get anywhere near that.
Yeah.
Which is a shame, because it's like they assume that, oh, we're gonna make a mobile device, we're gonna make it really powerful. And then, Nintendo's here just making, oh, we don't have to make it that powerful. We just have to make it accessible, have fun gameplay and stuff. And it just turns out that's much far better.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, it really just depends. In the end, it all comes down to the games. For the most part, that's all it comes down to, right? And flat out, not flat out, I shouldn't say that. For me, personally, I have more 3DS games that I'm willing to put time into. But I know, Andrew, for you, and we have this talk with our friend Ryan all the time, Ryan spends an obscene amount of time with his Vita, and I personally don't know what he's playing. But he's like, yeah, I play it like pretty much every day, and I go, what? How? But, there is stuff out there. It's just, depends on what you like, and yeah.
And if you're into a Vita, like, it's interesting. I guess maybe will the Vita be, I guess, is my question then is, has PlayStation completely given up on handheld and now this is their solution?
Well, did you hear anything about the Vita at Gamescom? Nope.
I actually did not. Why?
Because they didn't talk about it at all.
Yeah, they didn't. Yeah, they didn't mention it at all.
Awkward.
There was nothing mentioned about the Vita, and that was kind of the thing of like, oh, and they gave up.
Oh,
even in Japan, like even at TGS, they didn't really talk about it that much.
Yeah.
It was about that slime PS4.
I think the last time I heard about the Vita was when they were introducing PlayStation Now. And that was basically saying all the Sony devices, including your Vita, your PlayStation 4. And
I think we talked about it very briefly at that point, and yeah, that was kind of...
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is it safe to say rest in peace, Vita?
He's not dead yet. He's just
dying.
So also let's remember,
yeah.
the PS3 was, for all intents and purposes, a piece of shit when it initially came out. Nobody wanted it. The Xbox 360 was running away with sales, but near the end of the console cycle, PS3 seemed to pretty much pull ahead for the most part, right? So Vita could pick up. They could find what the Vita does best. The problem is that right now, what the Vita does best is it plays old games the best. It plays your PS1 games, it plays your PSN games, and it's awesome at doing that. The problem is it just doesn't have much of its own games. Right?
So if that's what you're...
Well,
And now,
Untitled
yeah.
Chapter.
And yeah, I guess it depends on how this stuff goes. Because, I mean, the restriction on this remote play is still that you have to be within your own house.
That's I mean, I as somebody who understands networking and the internet, I don't really think with
It
the
makes
way
sense.
and with the way that internet works now, and like with bandwidth caps and stuff, it's just not feasible to stream 720p, like essentially stream 720p videos to a handheld when our data caps are like,
5 gigs at best.
Yeah, so it just doesn't. It's not even slightly feasible.
Shield's trying
Right.
it. Well, I mean, the difference between like what Shield is doing and what this is doing right now is mostly if you're connected to a Wi-Fi, not even in the same house now. If you're at somebody else's house and you have like 5 up, 5 down, you can play it pretty well.
You can? That doesn't seem fast enough at all.
Allegedly.
Yeah, 1080 Netflix requires, I think, a minimum of 4 megabits a second to stream 1080p.
Oh, okay. I
So
suppose as long as
it's,
the connection doesn't drop out at all and it's 100%
Yeah,
stable.
exactly. Yeah.
Whatever.
So it'll be interesting to see if this is where Sony may lead on to. Maybe they're peering over Nvidia and saying, "Hey, could get some advice from you." All right, so let's move on to our final topic. It's a bit of an interesting one because we can all probably relate to this in one way or another. Valve is being taken to court.
You've gotten sued by Australia?
Every day of my life.
Every day of my life, I get sued by Australia. All right, so for those of you who don't know, Valve is being taken to court over its refund policy, and for those
By a country.
by Australia basically, and for those of you who are like, a refund policy, and my reaction to you is exactly that is why Australia is suing them.
Well, they have a policy. It's just that their policy is no refunds.
Basically. So the Australian Competition and Consumer Commission, the country's consumer and regulatory watchdog, is taking Valve to court, claiming the PC gaming giant is in breach of their Australian consumer law for businesses. The ACC alleges that Valve made false or misleading representations to Australian customers of Steam that A, consumers were not entitled to a refund for any game sold by Valve via Steam in any circumstances. B, Valve had excluded, restricted, or modified statutory guarantees and or warranties that goods would be of acceptable quality. And C, Valve was not under any obligation to repair or replace or provide a refund for a game where the consumer had not contacted and attempted to resolve the problem with the computer game developer. And statutory consumer guarantees did not apply to games sold by Valve. So TLDR, Valve has no refund policy.
Read it,
well, fair enough. For those of you who don't understand what I was saying,
TLDU.
so basically, Australia is suing Steam because there's no refunds and there's no guarantee that the game that you buy is going to be good because of Steam. I guess leads on to the fact that Steam has now started doing early access games, and some of those early access games are broken to the point of unplayable. And when you've paid money for it and not get refunds for it, Australia considers that a violation against their own the country, and therefore is suing Valve.
Wow.
What are your thoughts, guys?
Thank you. Oh, please.
Step in the right direction, maybe, possibly, kinda.
So, the thing that I find weird about this is, I mean, so we don't live in Australia, we live in Canada, but even stores like EB Games and Best Buy and stuff don't really have return policies for open games, right? So if you buy a game, open it, EB Games will not take it as a refund. You have to trade it in, right? And then you lose a bunch of the money. And I'm assuming it's the same with Best Buy and stuff like that, because there's a weird. It's like movies, right? So if somebody buys a movie or buys a video game, they can easily come up with the excuse of, oh, I didn't like it, and then return it and they basically play the game for free. And especially with games being short nowadays, you can easily beat the game in a day, if you want to, or even a weekend. It's really easy. So you can buy a game on Friday, beat it, return it on Monday for not liking the game. Right, so that's where return policies like this don't really exist, because especially at EB, we didn't want to deal with that. So it was, oh yeah, you can return it, but you're gonna lose a bunch of your money, and it's gonna be store credit. So this kind of thing has been just in the games industry forever, right? I don't really see why Valve is getting called out for it, because I mean, with digital games, it's even harder to regulate that, right? Like, somebody buys a game, how do you deem it being unopened, or how do you deem if somebody didn't like it, or it's really odd, right?
Yeah, but I think the differentiation is that the games that you get at EB and the games that you get like on the shelf, those are finished products, and the developers still exist, and they're updating the game as the problems come out.
Most of the time.
Okay, it depends on the game, but I mean, like, on average, game developers are trying to update the games that you're playing, and I think what Australia is addressing. What was it? There was a game that was recently stopped. I think it was the Stomping Land. Basically, to get a bit of background information, the Stomping Land was a game that they eventually was, after they reached their Kickstarter, they released They released a build for testers, basically their early access guys, to kind of try out and stuff. But the game had not been updated since. And basically there were people really concerned, and the developer was just like, okay, so I'm moving from Unity to Unreal 4. It's taking some more time than I thought it would, and that was it. But the game has not been updated. It remains as broken as it was the day one that he released it.
How long ago was this?
Well, the Stomping Land just recently got pulled from Steam.
Oh.
Yeah.
But did it reach Kickstarter in 2013, 14, 12? It's fine.
I want to say maybe it was in May.
Okay.
Someone can correct me on that, but basically they haven't been active at all. Then eventually they just died, and then now they're finally being pulled from Steam. So that's the issue with regards to early access games, is that there's no guarantee. If someone is, I guess, persuasive in a way to convince you and say, oh, look at my game, look at the fancy stuff it can do, there's a chance of, people being like, wow, the standard in this game industry right now, it's doing nothing like this. This is amazing. Throw all my money at it. And then all of a sudden, and then, you get problems like this. People probably complaining about, oh, I bought a broken game, I wasted a bunch of money, and people really sad and butthurt about it. So I don't know. I can see where you're coming from, Evan. I definitely agree with you with regards to having a refund policy. Just doesn't seem to make sense. In fact, it will probably take money away from developers, because a lot of people can get away with just buying the game within 24-hour period and then getting all your money back for it. Mm-hmm. But I find it hard for something like early access games or beta games, if you've ever paid for them. It's, yes, in a sense, you're buying into it. You kind of get what you expect, but there's a difference between early access where it's playable and the developer is constantly updating it, versus the developer, say for instance, releasing one version of the game and then never following up with you.
So I mean, the thing about that, though, is that, to me, buying early access is kind of like investing in a company, right? It's like buying stocks in a company. You buy stocks in it, and if it does well, then you reap the rewards of getting to play the game, and if it doesn't do well, then you lost your money. I mean, I've been burned on early access. I bought into Towns, right? And that game turned out dying and just not doing well at all. But I feel like this is just kind of a case of people, wanting, what's the phrase, want your cake and eat it too, or whatever. Yep. Or it's just they want to be able to purchase games before it's finished, but not deal with the negative sides of that, because those are flat out the negative sides of buying an unfinished product. Of it's unfinished. You don't know if it's ever going to get finished. There's no guarantees in this. It's still being worked on a daily basis. So you're buying into something that's not done, right? So I feel like this is just kind of a. I mean, yes, it would be a perfect world if this kind of thing could be guaranteed, but I don't think it can, because then that kind of flies in the entire idea of something like Kickstarter or Indiegogo, right? You're investing your money into something regardless of if it does well or not.
Yeah, but I think there's a difference between Kickstarter, Indiegogo, and like Steam Early Access, though.
They're the exact same thing, though. For the most part.
How so, Justin?
Well, in my eyes, Kickstarter and Indiegogo and all those kind of sites, you're basically looking for projects to kind of fund. When I see Steam, I see a store, right? I see it more so as like I'm selling products, and I have confidence when things get greenlit, when things are on the Steam store, I have confidence that Valve has done their research and knows what they're putting on their store, right? It's like if you're gonna be selling cars, if there's a reliable brand that's selling cars, I expect that car to do XYZ at 95 to 100% of the time. If all of a sudden, like, say, a reliable car brand started selling you a car that's like clearly not even a car, not even finished, it's got like maybe at best a steering wheel, and that's all they're selling you, and they're like, don't worry, the rest is coming, but then they never come. It's just like, yeah. That's why like when I go through early access games, I'd rather do it through Kickstarter, because there are usually, when you donate a certain amount of money, there are other bundles that come with it, whereas in Steam you only get what you pay for, which is just that early access key.
But most of the time in Kickstarter, all you're getting, if you go with like the first 4 things, all you're generally getting is early access, alpha access, whatever. And I mean, to continue your car analogy, though, I mean, that's why cars have statistics. That's why Steam has created an early access tag for their games, right? I mean, yes, if you go into a store, if you go into a car store or whatever, and you buy a brand new car, you're going to get what you paid for. But then they also have used cars, which are cars that they've been used before. You aren't necessarily getting something that you know exactly what it is. This car is going to have gone through a bunch of stuff. This is kind of a little bit different than early access because it's on the other side of being finished, right? But that's why there's the early access tag, because it's literally saying we don't know what this is going to end up like.
Yeah,
right?
But at the same time, though, I feel like if Steam is going to be putting things on their store and selling them as a product for early access, yes, there is always the risk of early access failing, but I feel like Valve still has a responsibility to kind of do more than just use the greenlit system, or kind of screen the developers and see their roadmap, and see, because like Steam as a company, their business is just as at risk as the developers who are making that game, because it's not that they're losing money, it's more so that they're damaging their own brand. Because now that if Steam just kind of lets early access games populate it, next thing you know, I can just whip out a Unity project, just kind of do something with it, propose something absolutely fantastic, make a bunch of money, and then run away.
See, but that's where the consumer comes in, right? Because the consumer has to deem whether they think that this project's going to get finished or not. There are going to be people that buy it, and those people are going to be, post things online. It's like, what was I going to say? I don't know. I feel like everybody's trying to put too much onto Valve, because all Valve is trying to do is make an open resource for people to make and sell games, right? Anybody can try to get a game greenlit, and you know what? Yes, some people do get screwed over, but there's also probably countless games on Steam greenlight that wouldn't have been released otherwise. And I mean, if you want Valve to start screening people, then you're essentially turning Valve into like the bank of video games, right? Where now Valve is going to have to interview you and say like, oh yes, we'll loan you a spot on the store because you've made some good stuff before, which is, I mean, I get the benefits of that, but there's also a huge downside of that, where just say you went out and you wanted to make a game and you made an awesome game, but because you don't have the credentials to be on Steam greenlight, you can't do it, which is exactly what consoles are, right? And that's one of the huge issues with consoles is that random developer X has to drop, $10,000 to even just get
licensed.
And it just becomes this huge wall for development, which is just it's not cool.
Yeah, I can see what you're coming from with it. It's like basically Steam is basically making it easier for basically consumers to point out the games that they're interested in. And then, it makes it easier for the developers to kind of make money, fund their project, and kind of develop it as we go. But we're now kind of seeing the consequences of that at the same time.
And I think a lot of this should be a lot of this responsibility should be pushed onto the consumer, right? Because we vote with our dollars. So I don't think this is Steam's fault. I mean, if we walk into any Walmart or any other, corporation that sells a lot of stuff, you walk into the store and not everything you buy is going to be good. Not everything you buy is going to work as advertised necessarily. But you can still spend your money on it. It's just, research.
Well, another, I guess, analogy for that matter would be the Google App Store. There's some real good stuff in there, but it's the point is either you completely regulate it and lock it down the way Apple's Store is, or the analogy would be consoles, or you keep it open in a free market like the Google Play Store, in which case you get lots of fake Flappy Bird clones every other day, because all they need to do is test, okay, it's virus free and it meets the minimum requirements, okay, it's good. But at that point, anyone can enter the market and it's free compared to being completely locked down and owned by an entity. It's one or the other.
Though, sorry. You continue, Evan?
No, go.
If I remember correctly, I believe the one thing that Origin does do better than Steam is them actually having a refund policy.
True.
And they actually I believe it's like a day one thing.
The other thing about Origin 2, the reason why they can do that is because it's a company that owns their own distribution software, and they're only distributing their own products.
Yeah.
Because if Steam would have a huge issue of needing to, because they need to refund, they need to take the money back from the developer and then refund it to you.
Yeah, I was gonna say that won't work out.
With EA, they're literally just taking it out of their own bank account, right? So it's not. I'm not saying it's impossible, because they could also just for the refund period they could hold the money, but then that would turn into a lot of other issues, because then Steam would be literally holding people's money, which is weird. But
Google does that, but that's only for 15 minutes. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut, but like if you purchase an app, it's only for 15 minutes is your refund policy, because they're much smaller and it makes sense. But a whole day, that's no.
I can see them getting
into a week.
I could see that turning into a bunch of legal issues, because Valve would, especially on Christmas sales and stuff, Valve would be holding a fuck ton of money.
Actually, that brings it up to my question for this is because I would have liked a refund policy, because I bought a year or two ago, I bought XCOM, the expansion to that, and then literally the next day was when the Christmas sale started.
Oh.
And there are other sales, they're not advertised, so they sort of happen. And I felt kind of burned, because I spent $30 on it, and then it dropped down to $5 or $7.50 or something like that.
Hell, if you did that with Amazon, even for a digital game code, they'd price match you. But
yeah, they don't.
I think they should definitely have some sort of price guarantee feature where it guarantees the price. It guarantees you the lowest price for a week, or something like that, at least, right?
At that point, at least the dev isn't losing out.
Yeah.
The funds aren't being held. It's just Steam, in good faith, they might be losing a couple bucks here and there, but
keeps
people happy.
It would make me a lot more willing to buy a game at full price on Steam.
Fair enough.
Lot more willing, because I might be Wolfenstein $60, but if it goes on.
After that, I do not spend money except on the big sales.
Yeah,
it's true.
Well, I remember that happened with Super Meat Boy. Super Meat Boy came out and it was $15, and everybody bought it. And then 2 weeks later, the Christmas sale started and it went down to $5.
Yeah.
And it was just what the shit? Seriously? You're gonna... Or that happened to me with Portal 2.
Oh, did it?
There was that huge... I bought Portal 2 on PC for $60 or $50 or whatever. and then the PSN went down, and Portal 2 they dropped the PS3 and the PC copy of Portal 2 by $20, like day 2 of its release.
Ouch.
I'm like, so you're literally punishing me because I bought your game on day 1.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Which is really lame.
Yeah.
I do agree with you there. I think they could have some better policies in terms of their,
Yeah, like maybe like
but I think refunding's maybe going a little bit too far, because it's just kind of like, well, you bought it.
I think
because you don't like your game doesn't mean that you should get your money back. It means that you should be smarter with your money.
But then, my question for you: what about, if this is for people in England's listening? What about the Killzone thing? Why didn't that guy? He's asking for $5 million back. Like,
that's because that's false advertising.
But at that point, why isn't he like? Why isn't the onus up to him? Like, he should have, like, at least waited and done more research or something.
The thing about his lawsuit, though.
Before, like, also for Greenlight, I don't think a lot of people that buy into Greenlight know fully the risk that they're taking. And I don't really like the investor analogy, because the point of it, like, the risk that you take is that you make money at the end. This is also my kind of problem with Kickstarter. Like, if I was investing in this like this tier or this Greenlight game, and I got something back, even if like Steam credits or I don't know, Kickstarter bucks that I get to use on other Kickstarter projects, like, then it would make more sense to me. But I don't really, for some of these people, I do agree with you in that, like, at a certain point, spending money anywhere is a risk, and you have to be okay with being, like, if you can't afford to spend this $15, maybe you shouldn't be buying video games. But at the same time, like, some people, maybe especially people with families, maybe they don't have the time to do all this research, and it's, there's also a shared responsibility on both ends.
So, I'll start with the Sony lawsuit. The thing about that is that was a false advertising thing, right? So that was literally, they were selling him something with a promise that it would be this.
But then wouldn't that be the same with any Steam? Like, they're promising we'll finish and we'll update this game. But if they don't,
they're not promising that, though. I don't think there's ever a promise of that on Steam. I'll double check and we'll post it.
But isn't that the entire point of Greenlight? I'm not familiar with Greenlight.
I mean, the difference is that the Killzone is being advertised as a full fledged game at 1080p. Whereas games on Greenlight, games on early access, they're saying, hey, our game is completely early access. It is really early, and there's a good chance that we may not even finish it because it's early. So bear with us.
Oh, but then in that case, then,
like, it's like,
I think there's more merit to suing the company that you put the money into than suing Valve.
Yeah, that makes sense too.
I agree.
That makes and yeah, I don't know. The thing about I don't know. I've just always seen Kickstarter. The second Kickstarter was kind of pitched to me, that I instantly thought of it as an investor thing. Like, oh, okay, so I get to take $50 of my money, give it to a company, and maybe get a return later. Like, I've personally just always seen it like that. So I have a hard time thinking of it as.
But you don't really get a return. You sort of get what you paid for.
Yeah, but I mean,
like, a return implies like it's more than what you paid for. So with the amount of risk that you take, not amount of risk.
Yeah, exactly. I've just always seen Kickstarter like that.
And so I can see where you're coming with this, because when they make money, they have a promise of saying, like, we'll deliver you, like say for instance, like, maybe a little toy or something, or maybe like a signed autograph, or, like, something exclusive to make you feel exclusive. May not be straight up money or whatever, but you can sell that valued item for who knows how much. In a sense, that could be money. But yeah, I think that begs the question. We've been kind of talking about it. We haven't really had a cut through answer. I know Evan's opinion very thoroughly now. And
I'm totally not an opinionated person at all.
All right, Andrew and Emil, do you guys think Steam should have a refund policy of any kind?
Of any kind, yes. I just don't know how it would be legislated, because I agree with Evan. It's difficult. I'd love if they did that. It would basically oust Origin away as the try before you buy sort of thing, because Origin has that and it's sweet. But it makes things difficult for them, obviously. I can't really realistically see how it would happen, but a man can dream. So I guess I kind of leave it at that.
I think it'd be interesting to see a refund policy where your first 15 minutes you get your full refund, and then after 15 minutes you start losing less and less and less, and then after your 2 hour mark you can't get a refund.
After
So what if your game takes 6 hours to download?
No, like game time, in game time.
They measure that.
They get like Steve has a complete understanding of their in-game time.
Yeah, but then you're back at the point where, what if a game is 50 gigs like Titanfall and it took you 2 days to download it? Does the developer not get paid for 2 days plus 2 hours?
Well, I mean, like how visas work is they always hold your money anyways, right?
That's true.
They hold the money for a month and then they give it to the developer anyways. So or not developer, sorry, the customer. Because when you pay with your Visa, they don't. It's not like directly to the company. They hold it for a month for you to sort out your things and make sure it's a legitimate purchase before it actually ends up to said seller. So like to a certain extent, like if it's like okay, let's make it more stricter. Let's say day one.
Sure.
Let's say day one, first 15 minutes is full refund. Anything after is like a certain percentage of a refund. And then 2 hour mark, no refund whatsoever. Because I think 2 hours is a pretty good indication as to whether or not you like the game. And after your first hour, you have a pretty good idea you're kind of enjoying it. First 15 minutes is enough for you to say, I am sick and tired of this game already. If you were sick and tired of the game after 15 minutes, you deserve a full refund.
Oh my god, Sonic the Hedgehog, the 2006 game. I bought it. I brought it back to EB Games, and he's like, "We don't do refunds, but I will for you this time." Literally, I got a full refund on that game. I brought it back like 2 days later, and I was like,
bad, huh?
"This game is not." It was also really cheap. It was like $10, but
So another thing to point out just about this specific situation with the game that you're talking about in early access.
Yeah.
So people do play the shit out of early access, right? So think about Towns, right? So as much as I bought Towns and it eventually went out of business, I did put a solid maybe like 5 hours into that game, and I enjoyed it. And I was like, okay, like let's just wait for the full game. And when it was canceled, it was just kind of like well, now the game's never going to get finished. I'm only going to have this beta version that I'm ever going to be able to play, right? So I feel like having a return policy on a full-fledged game is more viable than having a return policy on early access, because who's to say it's so difficult in that regard, because you can have a version of the game that you play for 50 hours. Like let's think about Starbound or even Minecraft, right? Where that game was in early access for years and people put hundreds of hours into that. If one version all of a sudden takes out a ton of stuff from the game and then he closes it down and notches I quit, do people deserve a refund? Because they've gotten hours and hours out of that game.
Well, yeah, no, that's the thing though. If video games are a product that cause you enjoyment, if you got enjoyment out of your game, then I mean you don't really deserve a refund because you kind of you got what you want out of it. I think the bigger issue at hand is when it doesn't deliver.
Yeah, but who's to say that, right? That can be something that's subjective too.
Well, it's just
sometimes.
Like I said, like I said, that's why I give.
Example, Last of Us is a piece of shit. I don't like it. Andrew does.
Shots fired. Something.
I am waiting for Evan's
So
why
The
Last
right?
of Us.
I get a refund on Last of Us? I'm kidding.
Tweet at Naughty Dog. Maybe they'll give you one.
Just sue them.
I'm the one person on the planet that hated your game. Give me my money back.
Evan, maybe your why The Last of Us pisses me off. Maybe that will make us go viral.
That's gonna be episode 2.
Maybe that'll make us go viral.
Yeah, that sounds perfect.
It's gonna be episode 2.
It'll make us go viral in the bad way. It'll be nothing but dislikes on the video.
Hey, it worked for Rebecca Black.
Yep.
Evan, you Microsoft fanboy.
Let's not go down the any publicity is good publicity because that only works for like celebs.
Back up for a second. Rebecca Black's the song Saturday is so good. I don't like that song.
Is that the one with?
It's
the
the
one
sequel to
YouTuber.
Friday.
It's better than Friday.
Well, it's hilarious though, because she's one of those actors who now she's one of those celebrities, where she kind of grew up now, and she realizes how much of an idiot she was when she was little. I remember I watched her YouTube. I know. I watched a YouTube video of her literally like being, I don't know, like a 16, 17-year-old now watching her Friday video going like, what was I doing? Why did I do this? This is horrible. Like, I can't believe this and so many people watch this. Like, she's literally just ripping on her own video for like 10 minutes. And I loved it. It was hilarious.
I literally look at myself from 3 hours ago and I think, man, what a shithead.
Eating celery and shit. You must have a really hard time rewatching these.
I actually don't. I actually love watching these.
You make me happy, Evan.
But yeah, refunds are great. Just
it would be nice. It would be nice.
And I do want to clarify that I do think that if they had a refund policy, it would be good. It's just implementing it is beyond hard because there's so many little like, oh, but what about this and what if and people can exploit it and blah. So I do want to keep the customers happy,
but you want to keep the guys who pay your salary happy, aka the developers, because that's how Steam works.
It's so hard, and I think that going to court over it is kind of just it's like suing somebody for not solving world hunger. It's like you didn't solve world hunger, you asshole. And it's like I'm sorry, like I didn't know that was expected. Fuck shit.
So are we suing the US or the UN? And if we're suing the UN, can we sue all the countries attached to it individually, or?
Well, if we sue the UN, we're suing the members they're all representatives of each country. So, and technically, we are suing a council of nations. I would assume, yeah.
Do all the things. That sounds great.
So, good luck to you, Australia. Hopefully, you put enough pressure on maybe the industry as a whole that they can all put together an idea. I'll put all their collective brains. You know, it's been a while. Let's finally put this aside. Let's have Australia, you know, sue all the other DRMs now. Let's start suing Uplay. Origin. They can't touch Origin. They have a refund policy. This is the first time and only time I will ever say Origin did something right. That is the only time.
You hear that, YouTube? We're not Steam worshippers.
Yeah,
we're mostly Steam worshippers.
If Australia could get me my $20 for my XCOM expansion bet, that'd be great.
I don't think it's gonna work retroactively, man.
Sometimes they do. Sometimes they do.
But how far back are they gonna go?
I just remembered. So I'm gonna tell a pretty funny story. I remember one of the times that a refund policy would have been awesome. A couple years back, I changed my Facebook birthday, just to see how many people I could trick.
Yeah.
Right, to be like, oh, happy birthday. And one of my close friends at the time was really drunk that day. So I woke up the next morning and he bought like 4 games for me on Steam. Happy birthday, man. And then he messages me the next day, it wasn't your fucking birthday yesterday, I know that. Oh, I was just smashed, and I just don't remember. Like I hate you. I just spent like, oh, fuck you, Evan. And I'm like, that's awesome.
Are these like 4 $60 games?
Social engineering.
They were like $20 games. I remember like at the time Metro 2033 was one of them and stuff like that.
Nice.
It was hilarious. I just couldn't stop laughing.
Nice.
So maybe Australia should lay it off a bit, you know. Let's all get our friends drunk and change our birthdays.
That's the advice. That's the takeaway from this.
Moral of the story of this podcast.
I think the 2 quotes of this podcast should be, you know, that, and then also, you know, getting video game refunds is equivalent to solving world hunger. Like those are the 2 taglines of this episode.
Although,
if you don't do what's requested, we're gonna sue you, basically.
Although drink more wine, I think, just works in almost every situation.
Yes.
Just not AA meetings.
Yeah.
Right.
All right.
Anyways.
Let's wrap this up, guys. Thank you for coming this far into the podcast.
I thought that was the wrap up.
No. We're we can't think of an ending is done now. We have thought of an ending.
Fair enough. Fine. I'll give you that.
and now we're back to the. Was that the ending? Is that our new thing now?
So meta.
So meta.
Oh. Thank you, our precious little unicorns, for watching this far. Please like and subscribe. Follow us on Twitter, and of course, if you ever have a question that you want any of us to answer, or for any of us to talk about, find us on Facebook, find us on Twitter, tweet at us, let us know what we should talk about. If there's any topics you guys want us to talk about, anything to discuss, we're very casual.
Are you sure about that, Justin?
You're the one who's talking Mr. Collared shirt.
Yeah.
Oh shit!
Both of you.
One episode, we should all just wear suits.
I'm hoping that we can do that for our December. We can do like a game of the year, our game of the year, so we can all just wear suits and just announce like what we want, what we like this year and stuff. We'll figure out logistics of how that night. We'll have our own award show.
Game of the year 2014, Sonic the Hedgehog 2006.
Oh my gosh. It was absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
All right,
I
guys.
remember that game.
All right, guys. Thank you for watching. Farewell.
See you next time.
Remember, Sonic supports interspecies mating.
Don't. Yeah.
All right.
Who knows?